And welcome into PressBox Live. I'm Stan the Fan Charles from PressBox and PressBoxOnline.com. With me is my co-host, the smiling guy, Gary Stein. And
Peace.
Also with us is the host every morning of Drew's Daily Dish and Morning Dish, excuse me. It is daily, but it's the Morning Dish. And that's Drew Forrester. And Drew, we're going to talk to you about some exciting news in your world in just a second. But first, I have to remind everybody that PressBox Live is brought to you by C3 American Exteriors. Go to their website at c3america.com to get a brand new roof for just the cost of your insurance deductible. And as I like to say each and every time I read this, that I know one of the owners of the company, Mark Luderman, and I think it's important when you're dealing with a roof, whether it's to fix it or put a new one on your home. It's probably the most expensive thing you'll do on your home. I think you got to know the people, you got to like them, and you got to trust them. And that's the case with C3 American Exteriors. I know them, I like them, and I trust them. All right. So go to their website, c3america.com. Joining us, as I said, is Drew Forrester. And Drew, you've got some exciting news in your world. And I got to plead ignorant. Gary Stein brought it to my attention about 7-8 days ago. You have qualified this year for the Senior U.S. Open.
I have. And wait a second, because I want to say what's ironic about that read you just did is I actually like you guys and I trust you too.
But you don't want us on your roof.
Yeah, no, you don't want that.
Okay.
Thanks for having me on.
It's a pleasure. How excited are you that you've qualified to play in the U.S. Senior Open?
Well, I guess on a 1 to 10, I'm a 20. It's, for any senior golfer, particularly for a senior amateur, well, I guess for a senior professional too, but I mean, for a senior amateur, there were only 23 other guys in the country besides me who made it as an amateur. 2,999 guys, literally, 2,999 filed an application and played and or were exempt. So 2,999 guys tried to get in and 156 made it. So, to be one of the 24 amateurs in the country who made it is really a thrill. I didn't grasp that until all the qualifying was done. And my site was actually the final one. And the days afterwards, when I looked it up, that's a pretty staggering statistic when you're one of 24 in the whole country that made it.
What gets you in at the last? Is the way you played your last couple rounds of golf? Well,
there was a qualifier. So there are 156 players in the field. 82 of those players were exempt, didn't have to qualify. So guys like Jim Furyk and Ernie Els and Retief Goosen and Fred Couples and Steve Strick won 2 years ago in this event. All those names that everybody knows, Bernard Langer, all those names that everybody knows, those 82 guys were exempt. The other 74 spots went to 31 different qualifiers around the country. So over the span of about 5 weeks, all over the country, there was an 18-hole qualifier. Most of them had one or two spots. Mine happened to have 3 because we had an 88-player field. So mine was kind of larger than everyone else's. And I was the third guy in. I made a birdie on the 4th playoff hole. So I was the third guy in.
So that qualifier, not to steal Gary's thunder, but where was that played?
Argyle Country Club down in just outside of DC in Silver Spring. Okay. And I had been close there before. I actually came really close a couple of years ago in Philadelphia. I missed it by a shot. And then I missed it at Argyle by 2. And I mean, a lot of guys can say they missed it by 2. It's kind of like hitting 280 instead of 260. That's probably 8 hits over the course of a season or whatever the numbers are. So when you miss it by 1 or 2, you're close, but tons of guys can say that they missed it by 1 or 2. So I did like the golf course. It was a good setup for me. And when I saw they had the qualifier there was another place in Philly that I also liked, but this one was closer and the date worked better in my schedule. And good for me that it worked out for my schedule.
Yeah.
So, Drew, let me ask you a couple questions. This wasn't the first time you've tried to qualify, right? How many years have you been trying to do this?
Right. So you have to be 50 or older. I know, Gary, you're going to say, "Gee, Drew, you're not 50." You have to be 50
No,
or
aren't
older.
you 60? Aren't you 60,
I'm-
Drew?
No.
I'm closer to 60 than 50, that's for sure. My first year in 13, which ironically was the first year, it was also at Omaha Country Club, where I'm going tomorrow, when I'm going next week for the tournament. The first year I wasn't able to try because I was injured. So that kind of zapped me because I had been waiting for 2 or 3 years. When you get to 47 or 48 as a competitive player, you really do start to think about playing in senior events. And I didn't get to play the first year, but every year since then, I've tried. And like I said, a couple of times I came close. A couple of times I was, 76, 75, which you shoot 75 in those things, you have no chance. But you just have to play really good golf for one day, and you have to hope that I think in this event just now there were 20 guys at 1 over or better. So their margin, it was a very, very thin margin. I got in basically by a shot. I made the playoff at 69, and I was fortunate to birdie that 4th playoff hole. But a lot of guys were in the hunt. A lot of guys were close.
So, Drew, but you kind of, take me through that, because you kind of glossed over the fact that it was a playoff, and playoffs, in any sport, golf, football, whatever. I mean, that's a fascinating thing to watch. So take me through it from your perspective as to what that was like.
It was a really crazy day. Let me say this first of all. I have been an alternate, and these events are called the United States Golf Association. The acronym is USGA. So the USGA runs the US Open, the Women's US Open, the Men's Senior Open, the US Amateur, all of the big, anything that says US in front of it, they run the event. And it's the biggest event in our country in terms of whatever bracket you're playing for. I was an alternate in 4 of them. I've been an alternate in 4 of them in my life.
Wow.
The US Amateur, the US Mid-Am, the US Public Links, and the US Senior Amateur. So this was my 5th playoff. The other ones, I didn't play poorly in the playoffs. Somebody just played better than I did. So it was a really weird day. I was one of the first groups to go out. I started, the tee time started at 8:30. I was out at 9 o'clock. And when I finished my round at 1:15, there were only like 15 scores in. There was 167, and then there was me, and that was it. And I had literally had 5 hours, almost 5 hours to kill.
Wow.
Because I knew I was close, and until I got bumped out, I was going to stay there. So shortly after I finished, another guy came in at 69 who coincidentally wound up being the last guy that I eliminated. And he and I sat down in these rocking chairs in front of the pro shop, and we just sort of hung out and chatted a little. He was from New Jersey, nice guy. We talked about Springsteen and golf. And at about, I don't know, maybe at like 2:30, I said, I didn't even know what I was going to do. I said, hey, I'm going to go run an errand. I don't even remember what I told him, but I left and I went to get something to eat, and I never refreshed my phone. The scores were live, so you could see where you were. And I don't know why I did this, but I went to this little pizza shop right over by the golf course, and I said, I am not going to refresh my phone. I'm just going to do some work, have a slice of pizza, and go back. I went back at 3:30. He was still sitting in the same chair. So I was like, okay, that's a good sign. And I walked up, and he said, still alive. And I'm like, oh, cool. I went in and laid down in the locker room for an hour and set my phone for 4:30. And I laid down, and at 4:30, I got up and I took a nap, and I got up and I looked out the door, and he was still sitting there. I'm like, well, okay, well, we're getting closer. And I never looked at the scores. And at 5:30, I took a shower and I came out, and at 5:30, there were like maybe 6 groups left. And that's when I really started to think. And now I had been really close in Philly once, where I was in with 2 groups to go, and one guy in each of the last 2 groups beat me. So I know that things never over until the last group signs their scorecard, but I was feeling kind of good. And I heard as the guys were coming in, I heard them complaining about the greens being slower in the afternoon. It was really hot. The greens down there are poana, which is a seed that grows out of the top of the grass and makes them slow. And when I heard the guys were complaining about the slow greens, I thought, oh, that might be a pretty good sign too. Yeah. And the last group of the day, included a guy that I had played with before named Charlie Bowling, who was the head golf professional at Bethpage. And he got onto the green, and one of the state golf officials asked his caddy how he was doing, and his caddy said even. And the guy had about a 15 or 20 foot putt for birdie, and he missed it. And I kind of deducted at that point it was a playoff. So it was a really crazy day. And 45 minutes after that, we went back out. But then we went out for the playoff at like 6:30.
I got a quick question to ask you, technically as a golfer. Other than hearing people complain later in the day that the greens are slower, if you're out there playing, do you know that as well? Or you find it out as you start putting that the greens have slowed down?
Yeah, I mean, I do think some of it depends on what time of the day you're going out. Like they were never slow for us. They were almost perfect. Now, again, I was one of the first 6 groups going out. But you do know as the day goes on, it was a really hot, it was like low 90s, no clouds, and all of the seeds on the top of that Poana, at some point by 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, they start to pop up. You can see it if you look carefully enough, you can see the little white seed heads popping up. And it doesn't make them so slow that like you have to crush the ball, but it definitely changes the pace of them.
Yeah.
And if you putted the first 6 or 7 holes at one speed, and then you get to the back 9 and you miss one that you thought you should have made, and your caddy says, boy, that was kind of slow, it starts to work on you a little bit.
And then the next time you might hit it too hard.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to change in the middle of the round when you've kind of adapted to one set of conditions. So when I heard those guys coming in complaining about the greens being slow, I'm like, well, they weren't slow for us. But maybe that's a good sign that some guys aren't making birdies, and it turned out they weren't.
So I've got a question to ask you, Drew, and for purposes of full disclosure, I asked you this before we went on the air. I don't know what it was. Earlier today, I was doing a little reading on this, and I started wondering back, because I've known you since you were about 17 or 18 years old. You were like working with the Blast.
We both had more hair back then.
I know.
All of us.
But you were a PR guy with the Blast as a kid, and you eventually became general manager of the team. I know you rubbed elbows with Kenny Cooper, and I remembered that Coach Cooper, who we all liked, was a pretty good golfer. And I wondered, did he have a lot to do with how serious you ultimately took golf?
I mean, one of the first calls I made when I got in was to him, and I said, "Coops, I owe a lot of this to you." He was the guy that said to me, "If you want to get cozy with Vince Bagley and Jack Dawson and John Buren and all those guys, you got to play golf." I knew what golf was, but what's really crazy is probably my first memory of any golf tournament in my life. We had a player play for the Blast named Bernd Holzenbein, who was a German World Cup player.
Yeah,
and in 1985, he played for us in 84-85. And in 1985, Bernard Langer was tied for the lead going into the last round of the Masters. And we were playing in Cleveland on that Sunday. And this is 1985. No cell phones, no nothing. And the only thing you knew was what you saw on TV. We stopped on the way to the Richfield Coliseum. Bernd Holzenbein made Kenny stop the bus, and he ran into a gas station to watch the last hole of the Masters. And Kenny said to me, get out with him and go in there just to make sure that he knows where the bus is. And he spoke English, but not great. Right. And I went into the gas station with him, and he told the guy, can you put the golf on? And the guy put the golf on, and we literally watched him putt on 18, and he cried. Holzenbein cried because Langer was the first German to ever
win the Masters. Yeah.
And so really weird is I'm playing a practice round with Langer on Monday, and I can't wait to tell him this story because that's right. It's kind of weird how my whole life, my golfing life, started with me watching Bernd Holzenbein cry when Bernard Langer won the Masters.
That's a great story.
It's crazy, right? So
and Langer right now is like kind of he's the institution out on the senior tour, isn't he?
Pretty much. He and Hale Irwin are probably the two most successful players in the history of the senior tour. Langer is, I think, 63, and he's won everything you could possibly win on the Champions Tour. And he's to say he's the favorite next week. I don't know if that would be accurate because Stricker's playing unbelievable. But Langer is a machine. That's what they call him, right? He just hits in the middle of the fairway, hits it on the green, putt, move on. So Kenny convinced me that in order for me to thrive in the PR business, I had to play golf with people. Totally.
Great story. Garrett, go ahead.
So Drew, it's interesting. You didn't really start, really getting into golf until your 20s, right? Basically, early 20s. Okay. Usually somebody in that position would have started when they were, like their dad may have taken them when they were 6 or 7 or whatever, played, whatever the age groups are, probably played high school. Okay. But you quote unquote picked it up late. Do you ever feel like if you had picked it up earlier, something even better could have happened?
Tough to say. You look at the kid, the way I've done it is no one does it that way anymore because these kids are so well trained when they're younger. The teaching today, the instruction today, everybody wants to know, like, why are all these kids so much better? A lot of people try to blame it on, not blame it, but a lot of people try to credit the equipment. The biggest reason why these kids are so much better these days is one word: instruction. The evolution of golf instruction has just absolutely blown up over the last probably 15 years. So even if I would have started when I was 12 or 14, I don't think I would have. Just back then, just wasn't a lot of golf instruction. There was Hogan's 5 Fundamentals and Jack Nicklaus's Golf My Way, and you might have had a guy at the BWI driving range who tried to tell you to release the golf club, but no one taught golf the way they teach it now, which is why so many of my kids at Calvert Hall are remarkable young players, but they still have a lot of learning to do about tournament golf and how to make a par and how to stay in it and how to not blow up when you've had a couple bad holes and how to turn in your card when you shoot 69 or 89. So, but the level of play from kids today is absolutely remarkable.
Drew, you mentioned the Bernard Langer story from '85, and of course you're going to practice with him next week. Is there a part of you, and you grew up watching all these guys? Is there a part?
Fred Couples is my favorite golfer of all time.
Exactly.
Ever.
Is there a part of you that's going to be starstruck at all?
Probably not. And I would owe most of that, I think, to my days in the soccer business, my days on the radio, when I would go to the Super Bowl and I would interview,
Players,
whatever star was walking through. So probably not. I've been kind of thinking about what I might say to Couples if I encounter him. I used to have a huge Fred Couples poster on my wall, and I might say, Fred, I'll make you a deal. I won't tell you the story about me having your poster up if you'll take a picture with me.
That's good.
So I don't know. It's going to be fun to be in the same environment with those guys. And it's going to be the biggest reason why I want to play with Langer and some of these other guys, Fred Funk I'm playing with next Wednesday. It isn't to hang around them. I'm really interested to see how they prepare. Mm-hmm. I want to see what they do. I hope I get to go back to this thing again and I'll be better prepared next time. But I'm anxious to see how they prepare. I don't know what to expect.
So I've got a question. You are playing as an amateur, correct?
Correct.
Does that mean that if you somehow, this miraculous story that Drew Forrester wins the U.S. Senior Open, you don't get a check?
I don't. The second place guy would be very, very happy with me.
Okay. So how much is first place? Is it close to $700,000-800,000?
Yeah, I actually think it's I think it's 760,000. I think.
Okay. And you would get absolutely.
I never had a.
You would get nothing.
I would get you get a medal or something, a trophy, right. But
and
you would be the winner
and a hearty handshake. Yeah.
And you'd get a lot of people saying, "What a dope that guy was for not turning pro."
Right. Exactly.
But I filled out my stuff on the first day and sent it in and said I'm going to stay an amateur. I never even remotely considered turning professional. It's just not.
Right.
I just never considered it.
All right. Now, the other practical question is the West, and I know Omaha's not in the West, but it's a lot further west than we are here. What are the temperatures going to be? Have you looked into that for next week?
Very much so.
And how hot is it going to be?
90s and hot. One of the things I've had a couple of conversations with Bernard Langer actually, and one of the first things he said to me was, and I should just say, as a matter of support and appreciation. Larry Moody, who's the PGA Tour chaplain, has been awesome setting me up with Bernard Langer, and he and Larry go way back. And so Larry made it all happen for me. And I've had a couple of conversations with Bernard Langer, and both times he said, "Don't worry about your golf game. Just work on your short game and your putting and walk. Go walk every day."
Right.
The walk at the golf course is the biggest challenge. So I've been doing a lot of that. I've been drinking a lot of water, and I've been doing a lot of walking, and and just really working on my short game and my putting, like he said. I think since that Monday, I think I've only played 2 full rounds of golf and a handful of little 9-hole Tuesday night men's league at Eagles Nest and stuff like that. But I haven't really played a whole lot of golf in the last 2 weeks because I've just practiced every single day.
Okay. That's interesting.
Drew, what's the best an amateur has ever done?
Yeah.
I don't know. But every amateur's goal is probably the same, which is to make the cut, play all 4 days. That's really what everybody wants. I mean, everyone, hey, look, if you're one of the 156 guys in, you have a chance, right? I mean, just because you're one of the 156 that's in. But I think every amateur's goal would be to make the cut, and still don't really know until I get to the golf course and see what it looks like. I usually have a pretty good feel for that kind of stuff, and I can look back at the history of the event, and you can come within a shot or two of figuring it out. But I haven't seen the golf course yet, and I need to see it for me too, because there are golf courses that are good fits for you, and there are some that aren't. I'm hoping this one is, but I haven't looked at it enough yet to know like what the cut will be. But I'm thinking somewhere in the 4, 5, or 6 over range will probably be the number you have to shoot for 2 days.
Mm-hmm. Drew, give us a sense. How much golf do you play?
Since I got in?
No, just like over a year's period.
I'm close now to 500 tournaments in my life.
500.
It's a lot like baseball, right? I've won 28 times and I've lost 460 or whatever. And baseball, if you get 3 hits every 10 times, you go to Cooperstown. So I've lost way more than I've won. That's for sure.
Well, losing in golf isn't necessarily not winning. Losing in golf to me would be to really play poorly.
Right. I mean,
so you'll be satisfied if you're like within a hair's tooth of par, right? I mean,
oh, absolutely. I mean, I again, until I see it, I don't really know what to expect. But I want to play well. I mean, I feel like I've already won. I feel like I'm going out there. I'm playing in the event. I'm the 8th amateur in the history of the state of Maryland to go. There's only 24 of us in the whole country playing in this one. So I've won. I've already convinced myself of that. But my family's going, which is awesome. They're going to get to share it with me. But I want to play well. I mean, I'm not going to lie and say, I don't care if I play well or not. I want to play well. I mean, I've been working hard. I have a great caddy going with me from Baltimore named Serge Hogue, who went to Calvert Hall. Great player, better player than me. He's a caddy at Seminole down in West Palm Beach, and caddied in the Walker Cup a few months ago. I'm flying him into Omaha. He's going to caddy for me. So I've got a lot of things working for me, but I got to go play good golf.
Drew, the caddies, the BMW Classic is coming to Caves at the end of August, and that tournament, which I didn't know the whole history of the tournament until I interviewed Vince Pellegrino a couple of weeks ago, who's with the Western Golf Association. That whole tournament benefits this Caddies for College.
The Evans Scholarship Fund.
Evans Scholarship. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of caddies to golf?
Huge. Way underrated. A lot of casual people watch it and just think the caddies are just guys that
carry the clubs,
carry the bag around. 1,000,000% false. Caddies are very, very, very important. They do a lot. There is a lot of work to be done over the course of that 4 hours. They do a lot of it for the player, a lot of the math, a lot of the uphill, downhill, a lot of the wind. They're trained to do that. As much golf as I've ever played, I don't know nearly as much about caddying as Serge, because he's been a full-time caddy for the last 20 years of his life. I did some caddying at Caves Valley when I hurt my arm in 2006, just to be around golf and kill time. But I was just a good golfer who knew how to carry somebody's bag and read the greens. But Serge is a legitimate A1 caddy, and he's worth a couple of shots around. Knows my personal, kind of knows, he's like a jockey. I compare them a lot of times. And hit the golfer with the whip, and they know when to ease off the golfer. They know when to say, "Come on, man, you could do better than that." They know when to say, "Hey, that was a hell of a shot you just hit." Like a good caddy is more of a psychologist than a bag carrier.
Now, what's interesting is you said that you're not that familiar with the course yet, and you're going out a couple days early to do some practice rounds. Does the caddy, is that when a traveling caddy like Serge is for you on this event, is he going to learn the course with you during the practice rounds?
Yeah, so we have a book. We have a couple of books, actually. We have a yardage book that details the yardage of every hole, details the upslope and the downslope in terms of if you're in the fairway and the green's 12 yards above you, it tells you how far up it is. He'll go out. He's getting in on. I'm getting in there Friday, July 2. He's coming in Saturday, and we'll go over there Saturday afternoon and start working right away. Okay. And when we go play, he'll take a lot of notes on what clubs I hit into the greens, what the wind is doing, where the ball hit on the green, how much the greens are bouncing, how firm they are. I'm not as technical. A lot of players, a lot of the senior guys who do this for a living, they'll bring 16, 18, 20 clubs with them, and they'll compile their bag kind of based on what they see over those 2 or 3 practice rounds. I don't do that. I just got my clubs, and whatever I got. But he'll do a lot of his work while we're out there in these practice rounds. And a practice round isn't you go play tee to green, 2 putt, go to the next hole. You generally spend 10 or 15 minutes around you'll hit a tee ball, you'll see where it sort of ends up. You'll hit an iron, and then you spend a lot of time around the greens. And while you're doing that, the next group's kind of coming up behind you, and the group in front of you is clearing out. So there's a pace to it that you kind of keep.
Okay, that's interesting. Gary, you got a couple more, and then Drew, I got a couple more up-to-date golf questions for you.
Sure.
After Gary asks you a couple more.
So Drew, this book that you're talking about that you have on the course, is it like, are you already looking at it and preparing it, or are you just going to go out on the course like you say and kind of prepare as you play, as you practice?
Well, I mean, I've seen what the holes look like, from the satellite view. It's mapped out for you, but until you see the way the holes move and you see, there'll be a bunker 260 yards off the tee, until you physically see that bunker and say, well, I can hit it over that, or I got to play right of it. That's kind of the challenge, because you don't really know how much of an uphill or downhill you're talking about. But I've seen the layout of the golf course, and again, to me, it looks kind of favorable for me. But I don't really know that until trying to convince myself it's favorable. But I won't know until I see it.
Yeah, Drew, just a general question. They say Baltimore's a football town, right? Rick Colts, obviously all those years, and now the Ravens. Some would even say Baltimore's a baseball town, but
it's going to be again in 3 years.
Yeah. All right. We'll see.
Once Grayson Rodriguez and Rutschman get up there,
it's Gunnar Henderson.
2025. What about Baltimore as a golf town from your perspective?
Well, first of all, a lot of outstanding golf courses, first and foremost. I think the fact that the BMW is coming to Caves Valley is a great testament to everybody at Caves. Dennis Sadisher, who I should also say, by the way, they allowed me to go out there last weekend and practice, which was awesome. Dennis and Bernie Najar both allowed me to go out there last Saturday and Sunday and practice in the afternoon. Not play on the course, because it's not really what I wanted to do. I wanted to putt the greens and work on my short game. So I owe them some thanks. Dennis and Bernie were great. But the fact that the BMW is coming to Baltimore, I think, is a great testament to the fact that the people are going to go support it. I think the crowds are going to be awesome. It is by far, of the 3 FedEx events, it is the best one, because you're really talking about the guys that are in the top 70. The next one, the Tour Championship, you only get to see the top 30. So this one is really the one. If it's kind of like the Preakness, right? It's the middle one, and if you don't win the Derby, you can't, and the Preakness,
And win
you're
the
not
Triple
winning.
Crown, right?
Right. So I think this is a great event for us. I think I'm excited to go out and just watch it. I'm really pumped up. It's going to be fun. Take my son, let him see it. It's going to be great. And I think the golf course, from what I see, I know that they've lengthened some of the holes, and from what I see, they've done a great job rearranging some of the holes, starting differently so that you end on that great 9th hole, which will be 18 for them. I think it's going to be an awesome tournament.
All right. Drew, I got a couple questions for you. Phil Mickelson, the fact that he was able to go out at his age, which he's 50, right?
Yes, 51 now.
51.
He was 50 when he won.
And he won the US Open, correct?
They won the PGA Championship.
PGA Championship. What kind of accomplishment is that? It's never been done before, has it?
I would say this, and with all due respect to what Tiger did in 2019 when he won at Augusta, Mickelson's win is the best win of my lifetime in golf, by far. Really, really hard golf course. Didn't fit him very well going into the event. It would have been no way you would have ever thought Phil Mickelson could win that golf tournament. And at 51 or 50 at that point, 50 in 11 months, for him to stare down Koepka like that, and for him to beat the best players in the world at a golf course that for 7,400, 7,500 yards, and I've played Kiawah, by far, it's the hardest golf course I've ever played in my life. It's the best win of anyone I've ever seen, including Tiger in 2019. Because again, not to diminish what Tiger did, but Tiger won at a golf course that he probably could play until he's 55, and now he can't. But and it's at the same golf course every year. What Phil did there was just absolutely, it was incredible. I've never seen anything like it.
Another question.
It completely changed his legacy as a golfer.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Completely.
Another question about currently what's going on. John Rahm, after what he went through, where he was, he couldn't finish that tournament.
Right.
He's had a 6-stroke lead in the tournament. To come back and win the way he did with those couple putts against Louis Oosthuizen, that was a pretty fabulous performance, wasn't it?
Phenomenal. And he is a great, great player. Like he was always going to win one of these. But I mean, I think I'd be willing to put this into the time capsule and bury it somewhere. I think he'll win the Grand Slam. I think he'll win all 4 tournaments in his career. And he just got the hardest one out of the way. Yeah. He's a shoo-in. So I hope I haven't jinxed him. He's a shoo-in to win the Masters for sure. He's been in the top 10 there several times. He is a great talent. His only issue when he was in college, a little bit of a hothead. He's got this Spanish temperament that Ballesteros and Olazabal and Garcia have had. And once he kind of settled into his career and was able to kind of keep his head straight, you've seen how great he is. I mean, he could be the best player in the world right now. I mean, it's, those stats change regularly, but he is a great, great player, and he is a hell of a competitor. Like he will grind you down to the wick until the end.
True. I didn't understand that the BMW Classic used to be the Western Open. Okay, I do now. And I was preparing for that interview I did a couple of weeks ago with Vince Pellegrino from the WGA. And I noticed that Billy Casper won the Western Open 4 times. Are you too young to remember Billy Casper?
Well, I mean, I'm too young to have watched him.
Yeah.
I know who he is. A good friend of mine actually is a member at San Diego Country Club, where Billy Casper grew up and played all of his golf. And one of my best friends who moved out to San Diego's locker is right next to his shrine. So when I was out there last September, I read all about how great Billy Casper was.
He was one of the best. He was one of the
no
best
doubt.
I ever saw.
Yeah, I mean, he was the guy that's told Arnold Palmer when Palmer hit it out of bounds on the first hole at Mount Pleasant and said he was going to leave. Billy Casper's like, dude, you could spot these guys 4 shots and beat them. And Palmer wound up winning the event. So I never saw him, but I know all about his legacy.
All right. Last question I've got for you, and then if Gary wants to circle back, you mentioned Tiger Woods. With what we know about he was facing anyway, prior to his accident. Is there any way he ever gets back? And I'm not even going to say into regular tournament golf. Would he be able to play competitively in senior events?
I don't think so. I mean, if you're going to ask me to go to kind of go on the record, and I don't think he'll play again. I don't see any way he could play again. That said, I'm going to throw the line out there that everybody uses, which is if anyone could, right? He's battled back from so many different things, some self-inflicted and some just unfortunate. But
Yeah.
I doubt very seriously that he'll ever play again.
Do
I
you
think his
he'll
focus
ever
now.
do you think he can go out in a year's time and play golf, not competitively, just enjoy golf, or you think it's over?
I think he could go out and enjoy golf. The biggest challenge for him, I think, now I'm not a doctor, but I would say the biggest challenge for him is he would never be able to walk 4 straight days of tournament golf.
Right. Okay.
His inability to practice is going to hurt him. I think the fact that he has a prodigy son who is destined to be phenomenal
Right.
is probably also going to captivate him enough that he'll be able to live vicariously through his son. I don't think he'll play again. I hope I'm wrong, by the way. It's a little bit disappointing that he got stuck on 82 and he doesn't get to finish his career, because to me, he's the greatest player ever. And the fact that he finished at 82 is kind of a bummer. It's like, it would be like somebody tying Barry Bonds someday and not getting 1 home run more than Barry Bonds, right?
Sure.
So I would love to see him play again. I just don't see it. I can't see it.
Gary, you got anything else for Drew Forrester?
Yeah, just a couple. Drew, I noticed you're wearing your Calvert Hall shirt, obviously, and you are the head coach of Calvert Hall High School Golf. But it's curious to me. They talk about, especially in the high school ages and even younger, the importance of cross sport activity. Like don't specialize in one sport. Play them all: baseball, football, basketball, whatever. And use all the different muscles that the different sports use. But to me, golf is a little different, though. Like, in order to master golf or be really good at golf, it takes such a high level of mental acuity, mental concentration. My question is, do you find with your golfers at Calvert Hall that they are cross-sporting, or are they specializing in golf?
Most of them are cross-sporting, even if it's not at the high school level. I have a couple of kids who run cross country. I have a couple of kids who play on the soccer team. I've had several kids play on the hockey team, which I got a warm spot for because I played hockey.
Yeah.
I just had one of my players reach out to me and talk to me about running cross country and said, "Coach, what do you think? I could use those 12 hours a week to practice golf." And I said, "Well, first of all, it really is up to you. I'm certainly not going to hold you back. I do like any competition. I'm a fan of kids playing other sports. I'm not a fan of them doing it once January 1st rolls around. Unless they're in the sport, I'm not a fan of them doing both while they're getting ready for the golf season, because I don't want them to get hurt and be unavailable to me. But I am all for kids playing soccer, and I realize a kid could get hurt in soccer in November and not be around in April. But if that happens, it happens. I love the fact that kids compete, and there's a lot of things that go into it, right? They learn to be good teammates. They learn to respect their coach. Hopefully, they're competitors. They learn to win with dignity and lose with grace. And so I like all of it. I like when kids play different sports. I don't mind it at all.
And then the final question on that, I'm sure high school sports were probably curtailed. Well, I know they were curtailed last year because of COVID. Golf too, I'm assuming. How did you deal with that with your team to keep them sharp, keep them mentally focused? Like, what was that experience like for you as a coach?
Obviously, in 21, we had a season. We had a very good season. We made the playoffs and we beat Loyola, and which is always good. And we lost to St. Paul's by 1 point in the semifinals at their course. We had a young team. If we're being honest, we probably overachieved a smidgen, but we played really well at the end of the year when we needed to play well. And the year before, though, was what we kind of affectionately referred to as our dream team. We had kind of been planning for that team for 4 years. We had come close the year before. We lost in the championship to Loyola. the next year we were destined, we thought, to win the whole thing, and the season got shut down on March the whatever it was, 14th or 16th, and we never reconvened. We did do a lot of stuff then. We did a lot of Zoom calls. We were on a no touch thing right then. We couldn't even get together. We did a lot of Zoom calls, tried to keep the spirits up, did the best we could do with that. But once that March 16th thing came and went, and we were kind of off limits, we couldn't really do anything with them. And we didn't get back together again until like June. And we had a day where we got together at Eagles Nest and played golf and had food and gave out some awards and stuff, but we didn't get to do anything. It was really a bummer. So that's 2021 was great, just to be back playing again.
Yeah, just to get out there.
Or no mask. We were just happy to be playing golf.
Our guest has been Drew Forrester of Drew's Morning Dish. Go to drewsmorningdish.com, correct, Drew? Is that the
Absolutely.
place?
And if we ever publish an evening thing, we'll steal your name and call it Drew's Daily Dish. For now, though, we're just doing it in the morning. 2,500 days in a row, though, this week we celebrated.
That's fantastic.
2,500. Congrats.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
You do a great job, Drew.
2,500 days in a row.
We really appreciate your spending a little time with us on the eve of
appreciate you
flying
guys.
out to Omaha, Nebraska, the scene of the U.S. Senior Open next week. Is that on television, Drew?
It is Thursday and Friday, Golf Channel. I think maybe like 1 to 3, and then Saturday and Sunday on NBC.
All
All right. We'll see you there.
We hope to see you
hope
on
so.
NBC.
That'd be awesome.
Hey, I read one little factoid. Alan Doyle is the oldest U.S. Senior Open winner in 2006. He won 2 weeks before his 58th birthday. Would you
Wow.
be beating him being
I would.
older or
I would be. I am older. I'm not going to tell you how much, but I am older.
Drew? Good luck out there. Safe
Yeah.
travels to you and your family. Really
Thanks, guys.
appreciate you joining us.
Great catching up. Sorry I was late.
That's all right. No problem. No
Thanks,
problem.
Drew.
Don't let it happen again. Press Box Live has been brought to you by C3 American Exteriors. Go to their website at c3america.com to get a brand new roof for just the cost of your insurance deductible. And again, as I say before and after each of these Zooms, the fixing or repairing or replacing your roof may be the single largest expense you have at your home. You need to know the people you're dealing with, like them, and trust them. I can speak firsthand that I know one of the owners of C3American.com, C3 American Exteriors, and I urge you to check them out on their website. Go to C3America.com. Join us Monday night. Ross Grimsley and I have a rare interview with El Presidente. Dennis Martinez will join us this Monday at 6 o'clock. Until then, we'll see you soon down the road.